Before the world fully wakes, there is a quiet moment when the body decides how it will feel for the rest of the day. And for many seniors, that decision determines whether they will move with freedom or carry pain in every step. Each morning, the human body awakens from a long period of stillness, and during those silent hours of sleep, something subtle yet significant happens inside the joints. The fluid that protects and nourishes them, known as synovial fluid, settles and thickens when movement is absent for extended periods. This fluid is not merely a lubricant. It is a living substance filled with nutrients that feed the cartilage and maintain the smooth interaction between bones. When a senior rises suddenly from bed and begins walking without giving the joints time to reawaken, the first movements of the day can feel stiff, resistant, and sometimes painful. It is not necessarily because the joints are damaged, but because they have not yet been prepared for motion. The body, especially in later years, thrives on gradual transitions. Just as the mind needs time to fully emerge from sleep, the joints require gentle signals that movement is returning. A slow and intentional morning movement routine begins to warm the synovial fluid, allowing it to circulate more freely within the joint capsules. This circulation restores the smooth gliding surfaces between bones, reducing friction and protecting delicate cartilage. Science has shown that cartilage does not have its own direct blood supply. It depends on movement to receive nourishment. Every gentle stretch, every small rotation of the ankle or shoulder acts like a pump that draws nutrients into the joint and removes metabolic waste. Without this early movement, the joints remain in a stagnant state, and stagnation is often the silent companion of discomfort. As aging progresses, the body naturally produces slightly less synovial fluid, and the cartilage that once felt thick and resilient may become thinner over time. This does not mean that pain is inevitable, but it does mean that the body requires more thoughtful care. The morning habit of slow movement becomes a biological necessity rather than a luxury. When seniors begin their day by simply sitting at the edge of the bed and rotating their wrists, flexing their toes, and gently stretching their spine, they are not performing a trivial routine. They are activating a complex internal system designed to preserve joint health. These small actions signal the cells within the joints to produce more lubrication, enhancing the body's natural ability to protect itself. The fascinating aspect of this process is how quickly the body responds. Within minutes of gentle motion, the viscosity of synovial fluid changes, becoming thinner and more effective as a lubricant. The joints begin to feel smoother, and the sense of stiffness starts to dissolve. This transformation is not imaginary. It is measurable within the biological environment of the joint. The warmth that many people feel in their muscles and joints after slow morning movement is a direct result of increased circulation and fluid dynamics. Blood vessels expand slightly, allowing more oxygen and nutrients to reach tissues that have been resting for hours. Muscles that may have tightened overnight begin to lengthen, reducing the strain placed on joints. There is also an important neurological dimension to this habit. When movement begins gently, sensory receptors within the joints and muscles send signals to the brain, informing it about the state of the body. These signals help the brain adjust muscle tension and coordinate balance. If movement begins abruptly and without preparation, the brain receives sudden and sometimes confusing feedback, which can lead to protective tension in the muscles. This protective tension often manifests as stiffness or discomfort. By contrast, slow and mindful movement creates a smooth dialogue between the body and the brain, allowing them to synchronize. This synchronization reduces unnecessary strain and allows motion to feel effortless rather than forced. For many seniors, mornings are the time when stiffness feels most pronounced. It is easy to interpret this stiffness as a permanent condition or a sign of irreversible decline. Yet, in many cases, It is simply the body asking for gradual awakening. When the joints are moved gently, they respond with remarkable adaptability. The human body retains its capacity for renewal throughout life, especially when given consistent and compassionate care. A few minutes of morning movement can transform the internal environment of the joints, turning a state of dormancy into one of readiness. The beauty of this habit lies in its simplicity. It does not require specialized equipment, intense effort, or perfect physical ability. Even individuals with limited mobility can participate by moving within their comfort range. The intention is not to force the body into extreme positions, but to invite it into motion. This invitation is received by the cells, tissues, and nervous system as a sign of safety. When the body feels safe, it releases tension and allows fluid movement to return. Over time, this daily ritual strengthens the supportive muscles around the joints, further reducing strain and enhancing stability. There is a quiet wisdom in allowing the body to wake at its own pace. In a world that often values speed and efficiency, taking a few moments each morning to move slowly may seem insignificant. Yet, within those moments, profound biological processes are unfolding. The joints are being nourished, the muscles are regaining elasticity, and the nervous system is preparing for a day of balanced movement. Seniors who adopt this habit often notice that their mornings become less painful and their overall mobility improves. The body begins to anticipate movement rather than resist it. Each day becomes an opportunity to reinforce this positive cycle, where gentle motion leads to comfort, and comfort encourages further movement. Pain that appears in later years rarely arrives as a sudden stranger. More often, it is the quiet accumulation of small imbalances that develop over time, a gradual slowing of circulation, a subtle rise in inflammation, and muscles that have lost their natural rhythm of contraction and release. The human body is designed for motion, and when motion becomes limited or irregular, biological systems begin to lose their harmony. This is why the simple act of beginning the day with gentle stretching and conscious breathing can transform the way a senior experiences comfort and mobility throughout the day. During sleep, the body enters a restorative state, but it also becomes relatively immobile for several hours. Blood circulation slows slightly, especially in peripheral areas such as the hands, feet, and joints. Muscles remain in a shortened, resting position, and connective tissues adapt to this stillness. When morning arrives, the transition from stillness to movement can feel abrupt if the body is not gradually reawakened. Gentle stretching serves as a bridge between these two states. It encourages blood vessels to open more fully, allowing fresh oxygen and nutrients to reach tissues that have been resting. This renewed circulation does more than simply energize muscles. It begins to calm areas of low-grade inflammation that often contribute to chronic discomfort. Inflammation, in small and controlled amounts, is a natural and necessary process within the body. It helps repair tissues and respond to stress. However, as people age, the regulation of inflammation can become less precise. Minor irritations in joints or muscles may linger longer than they once did, creating a persistent background of discomfort. Gentle morning stretching sends biochemical signals that help regulate this inflammatory response. When muscles lengthen slowly, they release tension that may have accumulated overnight. This release reduces pressure on joints and improves the flow of lymphatic fluid, which helps remove inflammatory byproducts from tissues. The result is a subtle but meaningful reduction in stiffness and soreness. Breathing, often overlooked, plays an equally vital role in this morning ritual. Deep, slow breaths increase oxygen levels in the bloodstream, and oxygen is one of the body's most powerful healing resources. Cells rely on oxygen to produce energy efficiently, and tissues that receive adequate oxygen are less likely to send distress signals in the form of pain. When seniors combine gentle stretching with conscious breathing, they create an internal environment that supports both relaxation and vitality. The diaphragm moves more fully, massaging internal organs and encouraging better circulation throughout the torso. This movement of breath also influences the nervous system, shifting it toward a calmer and more balanced state. The nervous system has a profound influence on how pain is perceived. It constantly interprets signals from the body and determines whether those signals should be amplified or softened. When the nervous system is tense or overstimulated, it becomes more sensitive to discomfort. Small sensations can feel more intense than they actually are. Gentle stretching in the morning acts as a reassurance to the nervous system. It communicates that the body is safe, that movement is controlled and intentional, and that there is no immediate threat. This sense of safety reduces the production of stress hormones that can heighten pain perception. As stress hormones decrease, natural pain-relieving chemicals such as endorphins begin to circulate more freely. There is also an important relationship between muscle flexibility and joint health. Muscles that remain tight place uneven pressure on joints, leading to strain and irritation. Over time, this strain can create patterns of discomfort that seem persistent and unavoidable. By stretching each morning, seniors restore balance to the muscular system. Muscles regain their natural length and elasticity, allowing joints to move within their intended range. This balanced movement reduces wear and tear on joint surfaces and supports long-term comfort. The process is gentle yet cumulative. Each morning of mindful movement builds upon the previous day, gradually improving flexibility and reducing the likelihood of sudden stiffness. Circulation, flexibility, and nervous system balance are deeply interconnected. When one improves, the others often follow. A few minutes of slow, attentive stretching can stimulate blood flow not only to large muscle groups, but also to smaller, stabilizing muscles that support posture and alignment. Improved posture reduces unnecessary pressure on the spine and hips, areas where many seniors experience chronic discomfort. As posture becomes more aligned, breathing becomes easier, and oxygen delivery improves even further. The body begins to function as an integrated whole, rather than a collection of separate parts. Another remarkable aspect of this morning habit is its effect on tissue hydration. Connective tissues such as tendons and ligaments contain a high percentage of water, and their ability to remain flexible depends on proper hydration and movement. Gentle stretching helps distribute fluid evenly within these tissues, maintaining their resilience. When tissues are well hydrated and supple, they are less prone to microinjuries that can lead to lingering pain. This hydration process is enhanced by the increased circulation that accompanies slow morning movement, creating a cycle of nourishment and renewal. Emotional well-being is quietly intertwined with these physical processes. When seniors begin the day with calm, deliberate movement, they set a ton of care and attentiveness toward their own bodies. This sense of self-support has measurable effects on the brain. It reduces anxiety about movement and diminishes the fear of pain that can sometimes lead to further stiffness. The body responds to this emotional state by releasing neurotransmitters associated with comfort and stability. Over time, the association between morning movement and relief becomes deeply ingrained, making the habit easier to maintain and more effective. The beauty of gentle morning stretching lies in its accessibility. It does not demand exceptional strength or endurance. It invites participation at any level of ability. Whether performed while seated, standing, or even lying down, the intention remains the same: to awaken circulation, ease inflammation, and restore the natural rhythm of the muscles and joints. Each slow stretch becomes a signal to the body that it is time to transition from rest to activity with care rather than haste. This careful transition preserves energy and reduces the risk of strain, allowing seniors to move through their day with greater ease and confidence. There is a silent conversation that happens between the brain and the body every time we move. And this conversation becomes even more important as the years pass. Deep within the nervous system exists a remarkable ability known as proprioception, the body's internal awareness of where it is in space. This awareness allows a person to walk across a room without looking at their feet, to reach for a cup without knocking it over, and to maintain balance without conscious effort. In youth, this system operates with such ease that it often goes unnoticed. Yet with age, the clarity of this internal map can gradually fade, making movement feel less certain and sometimes less safe. Gentle morning movement has the power to restore and sharpen this awareness, creating a foundation for reduced strain and greater comfort throughout the day. During sleep, the body remains still for many hours, and while this stillness is essential for restoration, it temporarily quiets the sensory feedback that muscles and joints send to the brain. When a senior wakes and immediately begins moving quickly, the brain may not yet have a fully updated sense of the body's positioning. This slight delay in communication can lead to subtle misalignments in movement. A step may land with uneven pressure, a shoulder may lift higher than necessary, or the spine may carry more tension than it needs to. Over time, these small inefficiencies accumulate, placing unnecessary stress on joints and muscles. Stress that repeats itself daily often transforms into chronic discomfort. When the morning begins with slow, intentional movement, the brain is gently reminded of the body's dimensions, limits, and capabilities. Each controlled motion sends signals from sensory receptors in the muscles, tendons, and joints back to the central nervous system. These signals inform the brain about angles, pressure, and balance. The brain responds by refining its internal map, adjusting muscle engagement and posture in real time. This process is subtle yet profound. Within a few minutes of mindful movement, coordination begins to improve. The body feels more centered, and movements become smoother and more efficient. Efficiency in movement reduces unnecessary strain, and reduced strain leads to less pain. Balance is deeply connected to proprioception, and balance itself is one of the most significant concerns for many seniors. Fear of falling often leads to guarded movements and muscular tension. This tension, while intended to protect, can actually increase stiffness and discomfort. Gentle morning movement offers reassurance to the nervous system. It demonstrates that the body can move safely and with control. As confidence grows, muscles begin to relax, allowing joints to move through their natural range. Relaxed muscles distribute force more evenly across the body, reducing localized pressure that often contributes to pain in the knees, hips, and lower back. The relationship between confidence and physical comfort is not merely psychological, it is deeply biological. When the brain perceives uncertainty or risk, it activates protective patterns within the muscles. These patterns involve subtle tightening and bracing, particularly around vulnerable joints. While this response can be helpful in moments of genuine danger, it becomes counterproductive when maintained for long periods. Continuous muscular guarding restricts circulation and limits the smooth movement of joints. Gentle morning exercises such as slow stepping, controlled arm movements, and light spinal rotations signal to the brain that the environment is safe. This sense of safety allows protective tension to soften. As tension decreases, circulation improves, and the sensation of stiffness begins to fade. There is also a fascinating interplay between sensory input and neural plasticity, the brain's ability to adapt and reorganize itself. Even in later years, the brain remains capable of forming new neural connections. Each time, a senior engages in deliberate and mindful movement, these connections are strengthened. The pathways that support coordination and balance become more reliable. Over time, this reliability translates into smoother movement patterns that require less conscious effort. When movement feels natural rather than forced, The body expends less energy and experiences less strain. Pain often diminishes not because it is directly targeted, but because the conditions that create it are gradually removed. Posture plays an essential role in this neurological awakening. After hours of lying down, the body must readjust to an upright position. Without mindful preparation, this adjustment can place sudden pressure on the spine and supporting muscles. Gentle morning movements that involve lengthening the spine, rolling the shoulders, and aligning the head over the torso help re-establish proper posture. Proper alignment ensures that weight is distributed evenly across the skeletal structure rather than concentrated in specific areas. Even distribution of weight reduces stress on joints and prevents the microstrains that often lead to persistent discomfort. The feet, often overlooked, are rich with sensory receptors that contribute to balance and spatial awareness. When seniors take a few moments each morning to stand gently, shift their weight, and feel the contact between their feet and the floor, they activate these receptors. The information sent from the feet to the brain enhances stability and coordination. Improved stability reduces the likelihood of sudden missteps that can strain muscles or joints. Over time, this simple practice builds a sense of groundedness that supports confident movement throughout the day. Breathing also integrates with this neurological process. Slow, steady breaths calm the autonomic nervous system and improve focus. When the mind is calm and attentive, it becomes more receptive to sensory feedback from the body. This heightened awareness allows movements to be more precise and less forceful. Precision in movement prevents unnecessary wear on joints and supports long-term comfort. The combination of mindful breathing and gentle motion creates a harmonious interaction between the brain and the body, reinforcing patterns of ease rather than strain. What makes this morning habit particularly powerful is its cumulative effect. Each day of intentional movement reinforces the neural pathways associated with balance, coordination, and confident motion. Over weeks and months, the brain begins to anticipate this daily reconnection with the body. The result is a gradual but noticeable shift in how movement feels. Steps become steadier, posture becomes more aligned, and the sense of vulnerability that sometimes accompanies aging begins to diminish. Pain, often intensified by tension and uncertainty, loses much of its influence when the body moves with assurance and clarity. Morning light carries a biological message that reaches far deeper than vision. When the eyes encounter natural sunlight in the early hours of the day, even softly through a window or open curtain, specialized cells in the retina send signals directly to the brain's internal clock. This clock, known as the circadian rhythm, regulates countless physiological processes that influence how the body feels and functions. For seniors, whose internal rhythms may have become less synchronized over time, this gentle exposure to morning light, combined with slow movement, can profoundly affect levels of inflammation, muscle comfort, and joint ease throughout the day. The circadian rhythm operates like a quiet conductor within the body, coordinating hormones, metabolism, temperature, and cellular repair. When this rhythm is aligned with the natural cycle of light and darkness, the body performs its maintenance tasks more efficiently. In the morning, exposure to light signals the brain to gradually increase cortisol in a balanced and controlled way. Cortisol is often misunderstood as merely a stress hormone, yet in appropriate amounts and at the correct time of day, it plays a vital role in reducing inflammation and preparing the body for activity. When cortisol rises naturally with the morning light, it helps regulate immune responses and prevents excessive inflammatory reactions that can lead to joint stiffness and muscular discomfort. For many seniors, circadian rhythms can drift due to changes in sleep patterns, reduced time outdoors, or irregular daily routines. When this internal timing becomes misaligned, hormone release may occur at less optimal times. Cortisol might remain elevated in the evening or insufficient in the morning, contributing to fatigue and increased sensitivity to pain. Gentle exposure to natural light soon after waking begins to reset this rhythm. When combined with slow, mindful movement, the effect becomes even more powerful. Movement increases blood circulation, allowing hormones and signaling molecules to travel more efficiently throughout the body. Together, light and motion create a synchronized awakening of the endocrine and musculoskeletal systems. Sunlight also influences the production of serotonin, a neurotransmitter associated with mood stability and emotional balance. Higher serotonin levels during the day contribute not only to improved mood, but also to reduced perception of pain. The brain processes physical discomfort differently when emotional chemistry is balanced. Seniors who receive consistent morning light often experience greater emotional resilience, which indirectly reduces muscular tension. Muscles that are less tense place less pressure on joints and connective tissues. This chain of effects demonstrates how something as simple as standing near a window or stepping outside for a few minutes can ripple through the entire body, influencing comfort and mobility. Another hormone intimately connected to circadian rhythm is melatonin, which governs sleep quality and nighttime repair processes. When the body receives clear signals from morning light, melatonin production later in the evening becomes more predictable and effective. Improved sleep allows tissues to repair more thoroughly during the night. Microinjuries in muscles and joints, which naturally occur through daily movement, are more efficiently restored when sleep cycles are aligned with natural rhythms. Over time, this enhanced repair reduces the accumulation of inflammation that contributes to chronic pain. The body begins each morning, not with lingering discomfort from the previous day, but with a greater sense of renewal. Temperature regulation is also influenced by circadian alignment. The human body naturally experiences a gradual increase in core temperature during the morning hours. This rise in temperature improves muscle elasticity and joint flexibility. When seniors combine gentle stretching or walking with exposure to morning light, they support this natural warming process. Warm muscles are less prone to strain and respond more smoothly to movement. Joints that are gently warmed through circulation and temperature changes experience less friction. This internal warming does not require intense activity. It unfolds through consistent and calm engagement with the body's natural rhythms. Vitamin D synthesis, though dependent on direct sunlight exposure to the skin, represents another layer of this biological relationship with morning light. Adequate vitamin D supports bone density, muscle strength, and immune regulation. While not every morning allows for significant sun exposure, even modest and regular interaction with natural light encourages outdoor presence and movement. Seniors who step outside or sit near open sunlight often experience subtle increases in energy and motivation to move. Movement further stimulates circulation and joint lubrication, reinforcing a cycle of physical comfort and hormonal balance. The integration of light and movement also influences the autonomic nervous system, which controls many unconscious bodily functions. When the eyes perceive gentle morning brightness, the nervous system gradually shifts from a nighttime restorative state to a daytime active state. This shift can occur smoothly or abruptly depending on how the morning begins. Sudden exposure to artificial light combined with immediate stress can create a jarring transition that heightens muscle tension. In contrast, natural light paired with calm movement encourages a gradual and harmonious shift. The heart rate stabilizes, breathing deepens, and muscles remain relaxed. Relaxed muscles allow joints to move freely, reducing the risk of strain and discomfort. There is a quiet psychological effect as well. Morning light carries a symbolic sense of renewal. For seniors who may sometimes feel limited by physical discomfort, beginning the day in gentle sunlight with mindful movement creates a sense of possibility rather than restriction. This perception influences behavior throughout the day. When the mind associates mornings with ease and warmth, the body responds with openness rather than guardedness. Guarded movement often leads to stiffness, while open and confident movement supports fluidity and comfort. Over time, the body begins to anticipate this daily alignment with natural light and motion. Hormones start to release in more predictable patterns. Sleep becomes more restorative, and inflammation remains more consistently regulated. The cumulative effect is subtle yet transformative. Pain that once felt like a constant companion may gradually lose its intensity as the internal environment of the body becomes more balanced. All of this begins not with strenuous effort, but with the gentle decision to greet the morning with light and motion, allowing biological rhythms to guide the body toward greater ease and resilience. The chemistry of the human body is deeply influenced by emotion, and in later years, this connection becomes even more visible. Pain is not only a physical sensation created by joints and muscles, it is also shaped by the brain's interpretation of signals coming from the body. When the mind begins the day with tension, worry, or a sense of heaviness, the nervous system tends to amplify discomfort. Muscles tighten unconsciously, breathing becomes shallow, and circulation slows. Over time, this internal state can make even minor stiffness feel more intense than it truly is. Yet when seniors begin their mornings with calm, mindful movement, the brain responds by releasing chemicals that naturally soften pain and support a sense of physical ease. Among these chemicals are endorphins, often described as the body's natural pain relievers. Endorphins are produced in response to gentle physical activity and positive emotional states. Unlike medications that attempt to block pain from the outside, endorphins work from within, interacting directly with receptors in the nervous system to reduce the perception of discomfort. When seniors engage in slow stretching, relaxed walking, or simple breathing exercises upon waking, the brain interprets these actions as safe and nurturing. This perception triggers the release of endorphins in small but meaningful amounts. Over time, the regular presence of these natural pain modulators creates a protective buffer against chronic discomfort. Serotonin, another essential neurotransmitter, also plays a significant role in this process. It contributes to feelings of emotional stability and overall well-being, but its influence extends into physical comfort as well. Adequate serotonin levels help regulate how the brain processes sensory information, including signals of pain. When serotonin is balanced, the brain is less likely to interpret mild sensations as severe discomfort. Gentle morning movement, particularly when performed with awareness and steady breathing, encourages the release of serotonin. This chemical shift supports a more balanced nervous system, allowing the body to move without excessive guarding or tension. The relationship between emotional state and muscle tension is immediate and measurable. When the mind feels rushed or anxious, muscles respond by tightening in subtle ways. Shoulders rise slightly, the jaw may clench, and the lower back can become rigid. These small contractions often occur without conscious awareness, yet they place continuous pressure on joints and connective tissues. Over hours and days, this pressure accumulates, leading to persistent soreness. A calm and intentional morning routine interrupts this pattern. As seniors move slowly and focus on their breathing, the nervous system shifts away from a stress-driven state. Muscles begin to release their protective tightness, allowing joints to function with less resistance. Reduced resistance translates into smoother movement and diminished pain. There is also a powerful psychological dimension to beginning the day with mindful motion. Many seniors carry an underlying concern about physical decline or the possibility of discomfort. This concern can subtly influence how they approach movement. If the expectation of pain is present, the body often prepares for it by becoming more guarded. Guarded movement tends to be less fluid and more effortful, increasing the likelihood of strain. By contrast, when the morning begins with gentle and reassuring motion, the brain receives evidence that movement can be safe and comfortable. This evidence gradually reshapes expectations. Instead of anticipating discomfort, the mind begins to anticipate ease. The body responds to this shift by reducing unnecessary tension and allowing movement to flow more naturally. Breathing serves as a bridge between emotional and physical states. Slow, deep breaths activate the parasympathetic branch of the nervous system, which is responsible for relaxation and restoration. When this system is engaged, heart rate slows, blood vessels widen slightly, and muscles receive improved circulation. Enhanced circulation delivers oxygen and nutrients that support tissue health while also removing metabolic byproducts that can contribute to soreness. The simple act of breathing with awareness during morning movement amplifies the body's ability to regulate itself. Each breath becomes a signal of safety, encouraging the nervous system to soften its protective responses. The brain is remarkably adaptable, even in later life. When seniors establish a consistent morning habit that combines gentle movement with calm attention, the brain begins to form new associations. Morning becomes linked with comfort, control, and self-care rather than stiffness or limitation. These associations influence neural pathways related to pain perception. Over time, the brain may reduce its sensitivity to certain discomfort signals, interpreting them as less threatening. This does not mean that physical conditions disappear entirely, but the experience of those conditions often becomes more manageable. The body feels supported rather than burdened. Another important aspect of emotional chemistry is the sense of autonomy it provides. Chronic pain can sometimes create feelings of helplessness, as though the body is no longer fully cooperative. Establishing a simple morning practice restores a sense of participation in one's own well-being. Each gentle stretch or mindful step becomes an act of self-support. This sense of agency influences the brain's reward systems, releasing small amounts of dopamine that reinforce positive behavior. Dopamine encourages consistency, making it easier to maintain the habit over time. Consistency, in turn, allows the cumulative benefits of improved circulation, reduced tension, and balanced neurochemistry to unfold. Human beings are deeply responsive to rhythm and repetition. When the day begins with a predictable pattern of calm movement and steady breathing, the body begins to trust that rhythm. Trust reduces internal resistance. Muscles no longer brace unnecessarily, and joints are allowed to move within their natural range. This environment of trust within the body fosters resilience. Minor aches that might otherwise escalate into persistent pain are often resolved through improved circulation and relaxation before they can intensify. The nervous system learns that it does not need to remain in a state of constant alertness. Over weeks and months, this morning habit shapes not only physical comfort but also emotional outlook. Seniors often report feeling more at ease in their bodies and more confident in their movements. Confidence itself has a physiological effect, reducing the production of stress-related chemicals that can heighten inflammation and discomfort. The body becomes a place of cooperation rather than conflict. Each morning offers an opportunity to reinforce this partnership between mind and body, where calm attention and gentle motion guide the chemistry of comfort and support a life with less pain and greater ease.